Hey, look. I am all about some peaceful protests, but I do think some of the people that are protesting right now need to watch this movie to actually get a history lesson because I'm pretty sure 99.9% of the people out there don't know crap. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing The American Miracle. Our Nation Was No Accident. So what's it about? It's a pretty simple premise. It's a Fathom event movie about the history of the United States, how it came to be, and going through, some of the battles, some of the troubles, some of the things that are going on right now in today's day and age. Ben Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and how the government was made from the 13 colonies to states and the 3 branches of government, and just how it was done and where we're at today. So did I like this movie? Like I said in my theater reaction, it's hard to actually talk about this movie as a movie because, watching a little bit of the trailer, I was thinking it would be more like, I want to call it a play, but kind of a reenactment of all the battles and things occurring, which it does do that. However, it's sprinkled in with real authors, historians, philosophers, reporters, actors in this movie that kind of intertwine into this movie, and it's very much a history lesson. This is very much a movie, I'm saying very much a lot time, where you go to the library when you're younger and you grab a VHS tape to learn history, or School of Rock, or is it School of Rock? No, it's not School of Rock. What's the shows back in the day where like School of something? Like you'd learn a history lesson, the Declaration of Independence, or the Constitution. It felt like one of those, or it's like when you're in history for 6th graders or 7th graders or 5th graders, you'd put this on for 2 class periods to actually get good information. Because I won't lie, I learned some stuff and I was like, why didn't I know about this? Why did I know about this battle? Why did I know about some of the situations that are occurring through these different states and what they're battling about? So, like I said in the very beginning of this video, I do think a lot of people should watch this movie just for the history lesson itself, because that is what this movie is for, to be like, how do we get here 249 years later? So when it comes to the history lesson, A+. I learned things, and when this movie is supposed to have people learn things, it truly works. Everything else, production design, CGI, green screen, acting, not the greatest. Some of the good acting, though, I will say belongs to George Washington. We have Benjamin Franklin, the delegate of New Jersey. He was a standout, in my opinion, at the last end of the movie. You could say Abigail Franklin was also, or Abigail Adams. She also did a good job in John Adams. So I said there's sprinkle of like decent acting, but there's also sprinkle of like, not so good acting, or when people get shot, or some of the British generals, which none of the British people had accents. They're all Americans, so that's another thing where you're like, where's the accents for that? Also, bringing in the Native Americans and how they helped with the French and things like that also was very interesting, where it's like they actually brought in the French and Indian War, which I feel like that war really isn't talked about in our history as well. So putting that in there, like I said, I'm learning some information, and when I go into movies like this, I want to learn. And that's the whole point of this, to learn how America was formed and where we're at 250 years later. Because people always say empires, republics fall after 250 years, and we're at that point. When you see these riots, when you see things happen in the world where people are burning the American flag, or, how Richard Dreyfuss in the movie really says, in today's day and age, we don't trust politicians, we don't trust the media, we don't trust journalists, we don't trust our government in general. And that's true, because when you look at it nowadays, okay, let's talk about the media first. How many of them are lying? Of course, you can say, well, Fox News lies. Well, I would say Fox News promotes more, both-sidedness than NBC and CNN and ABC and MSNBC and CBS. You see what I'm getting at? Even they just had to fire an ABC reporter for being we're objective, but the reporter says something absolutely not. He's gone. He's fired after being like there for like 20 something years. So you're not really objective, and it really shows it when 92% is negative coverage. So you have that. Okay, politicians. Oh, sure, you can't trust politicians, lobbyists. You have, I'll even say it, I'm not a fan of Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, all these people there that are just all the no-mans. It's like, you don't do shit. You ain't doing shit. And that's why I think what I hate about government now, there is no negotiations. It's all or nothing. It's like, you got to negotiate something. And that's really frustrating as well. Same with the journalism, press, and the government. It's just like, give us something to have me have faith. And it's really hard to have faith when everything is clapback culture. And that was the last 10 minutes of the movie that's discussing where we are going with, today's day and age of that. So, like I said in the beginning, this is a hard movie to review because it's not really a movie to review. You're not watching this movie to say, oh my God, that green screen effect sucks. Oh my God, that effect sucks. So like, oh yeah, that shot's redone. That acting's not good. Because it's not really meant to, it's meant to be like B-roll footage. But what this is really meant to do is like, how are we America today and how was it formed, 250 years later? And also learning about like the 3/5 clause, like things like that where it's like, okay, I'm learning something. So like I said, learning aspect, A+, everything else, it's mid to a little bit lower budget. But like I said, this is one of those movies where you can't really like compare this to like an Oppenheimer or like a Drive Away Dolls or anything like that. Two very different spectrum movies. So the American Miracle, it pretty much is a miracle when you look at what we have been through. So the American Miracle, Our Nation Was No Accident, will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futons, which equals at 70%. Let's see the critics' news scores gave this one. Critics, we're at a 0 of them, not surprised. 97% with the audience score. No critic consensus. 97-70. Chase out here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of these Butontopia. You Blue Tony Snake. Watch from a great day. I'm watch the state tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And stay safe out there. Just don't go downtown. And get out of the cities. Get out of the cities.